Greetings, Earthlings. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571 where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. I would be remiss if I didn't bring on my teammates. And we're gonna start with the lady that sweet as snap of my New York City girl, Miss Apple. What's going on, Miss Apple?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. We're gonna have a great show. I don't know what it's about, but it's gonna be about something.
And next, and next is my favorite girl, the Chocolate Pearl, down there in lovely Florida. And I wonder if you met Florida Man. What's going on, Chocolate Pearl?
Hey, y'all. This is Chocolate Pearl from Duval. Hopefully we can get this party crack-a-lacking. The topic is good. I probably won't do too much speaking. I'm gonna let my fiance do a lot of the speaking today, hopefully. But this should be a good topic for tonight.
Well, um, Father's Day is coming up this Sunday coming up. And what I wanted to do was talk about how we hold on, I got some bad feedback or something. Well, show must go on. I was going to say, we talk about fathers in the past.
Hold on for a minute.
And
Your other one is not on mute. That's why you're getting the feedback.
oh,
The Anthony Gold is not on. There you
yeah,
go.
I see it now. Thank you. Got to be smarter than the equipment. Thank you, smarter lady. But anyway, I'm talking about how we as especially in the black community, black fathers are maligned these days. It wasn't always that way. Some, fathers used to be venerated, the rocks and the pillars of the community and rocks of the family. Uh my father, who happens to be Chocolate Pearls and Apple's father also, gotta say that. Um, he was a complex man. Everybody who met him loved him. He I When I was born, he was 18. His wife was 20, had just turned 20. So that should tell you they had us young. Um, and we kind of grew up with them as it, as he was very humorous and he was very easy to talk to, but he had an awful temper. Oh my gosh, he had an awful temper. And he and I had a love-hate relationship at times as I got older because I grew up to be taller than him. Now I wasn't trying to man up, but he like, he and I threw down a few times, but at the end, I went to see him the last time I saw him, he was in the hospital and he was in an oxygen tent and I broke down because I didn't, even though I was bigger, stronger, faster than my dad, he was still my father. So it was rough, but I always say like this, he passed away when he was 38 and I had just turned 20. So you can imagine my siblings had it even worse because they were a lot younger. And one thing I did say, I got a chance to say goodbye to him. And also, I always think every once in a while, I wonder if he's proud of what I did in life. And like I said, he wasn't perfect.
Yes.
He had a lot of a lot of faults, but then so do I. I got that from him. Um, but one thing I can say that he was an active father, and that's a lot of things. A lot of in the '70s, a lot of our contemporaries couldn't say. Yeah, he was a drunk and he dabbled in a few illicit substances, but he was always there.
Always there for two families, not just one.
Yeah, he was always there, and that's what made him the man he was. And he didn't know his father. I just found out his father about 2 years ago. Um, he was, he did the best. He did the best he could with what he had and what he knew, and he passed on a lot to. He passed a lot on to his sons, who may have been crummy husbands, but they were great fathers. and
Exactly.
and that I could say that with my whole chest because my brothers are great with their kids, and I think I did halfway decent with mine, but the other part, I leave that one alone. So what I want to do is I want to go to Miss Summer. I saw that picture. Congratulations on you and Rome having a house, buying a house. That's a big thing. Congratulations to y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
Yes, congratulations.
So I want to talk to both of y'all. I want to talk to both of y'all. First, I want to talk to Summer, and I saw Rome in there. Rome, I want you to talk about your dad because your dad seemed to have an interesting life. Go ahead, Miss Summer.
Okay, I'm gonna have to speak for Rome because he's at basketball practice with AAU.
Okay.
But uh oh Lord, I don't even know what to say about my dad. My dad, military dad, um, even though he traveled, I don't remember him not being around. I don't know how I can explain. I think mom held it down so well that when he was home, we had a good time. And it's like he made up for the time that he was gone. I know my dad has seen a lot. He's from a different time. He was in the Coast Guard. I remember him telling me when he first went in, he experienced a lot of racism in New York. So I know he comes from that background. And right now, he's just very political. He watches the news religiously. So he's like, you know, still trying to fight the good fight. He wants all his children to be educated. So we understand our dad in a lot of ways. My dad is just played a very important role in my life as a woman. I think anybody who has ever tried to step to me, and probably Ron can vouch for this, I'm not going to speak for him, but they knew that they had to come correct because my dad was there. So it was no trying to get over on my daughter. Nope, I'm going to meet you. I'm going to see what you're about. So his presence was very, very much known. But he to me, even through everything that he's been through, I can honestly say that my dad, as much of trauma that he's experienced in his life, he carries it very well. He still is, when you go to him for advice, he's very positive. He's not on the negative side. He tries to encourage you. And I know Jerome really, really values that about my dad too. It's not never tearing you down. It's always, okay, let's think about this. What are your options? What can you do? So he's always been that guy. And so I value my father very, very much. And hopefully, because my dad's about leading by example. So hopefully my son, my husband said he's picked up a lot of great attributes about my father. And I hope my son picks that up as well. So he has played a very important role in my life. Fathers are so, so, so important. And I think it has made me the woman who I am as well, because with my mom, I want to make him proud. So
That's good that because a lot of times y'all heard the claptrap that women can do it by themselves and they don't need no man and they kids don't need no father because I could be the mama and the daddy. And on Father's Day, there are going to be a bunch of bitter women yelling that I'm the daddy too. I'm saying Happy Father's Day to me. I would say Happy Bad Choice Day to you because
And I can't stand that.
you made that man the father, even though you probably knew he wasn't about nothing from the beginning. But besides that, we don't look at it. We kind of it gets tiresome when women don't give men that are trying. Now, if he's a piece of crap, he a piece of crap. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But you know, if a man's doing what he's supposed to do, and you talking about man ain't crap, no, the man you chose to be your child's father is a piece of crap. Don't put that on all men. And we're not perfect, but hey, we try. Miss Kim, you used to talk about your father a lot. Tell us about your dad.
Um, well, my dad was a hard worker. Raised 9 kids with me being the baby. My dad, wow, what can I say? Um, he was a big family man. He was a church goer. He sang in the choir. He was on the trustee board. He owned his own business. He raised his son to be able to carry on the business after he passed on. Um, he was hands on. Um, what he did for one, he did for all. He was a man that always believed in helping his kids. Um, Excuse me, I am tired. I just lost my train of thought. I'm exhausted today, y'all. I'm moving. Um, he was always there for, my mom, his wife. Dad would, my mom would, I remember she always made the grocery list on Thursday and laid it on top of the TV. Friday morning, Daddy would pick up the list after he would finish working, collected all the pay, paid his workers, and then he went and bought groceries. Now I would have to be the one bring the grocery in, which I hated. But on Saturday morning, my mom did not have to work. He provided everything. My mom was able to get a new car every 3 years. He would leave money on the table. My mom loved my dad so much to the point that, she appreciated him so much that she would iron his boxers, his handkerchief. So he was a very big pillar of the community, because a lot of people where I'm from actually had their houses, um, the plumbing and electrician done by my dad. So yeah, he was a man's man. I could say I'll say that. I miss my dad a lot because, I could always call my dad. He was very laid back, calm man. But when you made him mad, he showed up. So yeah, that was my dad.
That's wonderful. That's definitely wonderful. Uh, we got. I seen Bean has come up. What's going on, Miss Bean? Holla at your boy.
Oh, hi y'all. As y'all know, I'm getting off of work. Don't know what the subject is, but I see a picture of my dad. So yay.
Something like that. Yeah, we talking about fathers, and how especially black fathers be getting a bad rap. And I was just saying, I started off the show talking about our father, and the good, the bad, and the but like I said, he was
What
always there for us.
yeah, that's one thing I could because he passed when I was 9. I only have a certain amount of memories with about him. And I have certain memories with him, but I learned a lot about my dad through my siblings, my cousins, and my aunts. So, like the boys had a different relationship with him than the than the girls did, because my younger brother is telling me all these things that he remember, and I'm like, where was I was usually up my dad's behind. So where was I with all of this?
You was with
You
T.
know, so I know, well,
A lot
I
of your
know that
memories
he was
is with
always
T.
there with our
But
stepfather
dad was
too.
always
But
there, but a lot of your memories with T.
yeah, and yeah, but I know he was always there, and I know he's the one who taught me how to do hair, and he's the one, you know, who taught me how to spit. He taught me how to run fast. You know, that was my dad. I was a tomboy, so I went I what's the word I'm looking for? I was more closer to him and my stepfather, and you know, things like my godfather and aunt and my older brother. I was like always trying to be around them, but you know, I was the baby sister, so I was just the bug and the nag. But you know, like I said, I'm grateful for my brothers being so much, my brothers and my sister, well, my brothers being so much older that they actually could tell me how my dad was. I've seen him upset, but I've never seen him to where my brothers and my sister and my older sister and my brothers know about his temper, because I've heard some stories about my father's temper. So, and I'm like, is that where I get my switch from? You know, because I go from sweet as pie to I'll scorch earth and take us all out. So, you know, I was wondering where I got that from.
And the thing is, being is that your father what did have a temper. He was a buck 05 though, so I think it might have been Chihuahua complex.
Oh wow.
But
Thank you.
one thing I do remember with you was I remember him putting hot sauce on your thumb because
And it didn't
you
work.
suck your thumb and that's why you liked hot sauce. It was like he was he had some ways about him, but he was doing it out of love, and he's doing it the best he knew how.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't graduate from high school. He worked until he couldn't work, but and as Chocolate Pearl used to say back in the day, he was a hustler. He sold everything. And that if you met his brothers, if you met our uncles was pretty much the same. They
Yeah.
all had
Well,
that,
hustlers.
yeah, they all had that hustler mentality.
And he
But
fixed anything. He used to be the unofficial handyman of the projects.
yeah, definitely had zero license, but was driving us everywhere.
Yep.
But it's they don't make men like that no more, in my opinion. And I'm a man, and I'm saying this. They don't make men like that anymore. Flawed men, but they always took care of what they needed to take care of. DJ Dads, I know you're out there. How was the relationship with you and your dad?
Hey, what's happening? My relationship, my dad, it was actually very good. We had pretty good sized family as well. My dad had 8 kids of his own, and one stepdaughter that's was older. She was out of the house because I was an uncle before I was born, so she wasn't pretty much there. But my dad was a very strong man, very kind person. Um, Gunny Sergeant from Marine Corps. Hoorah! He know how to put it down when he needed to. So, we're a pretty good group of kids. We was behave. He made sure we stayed that way. Um, kind of like him, my dad was gone a lot, but mostly because of the military. We traveled or like summer. We traveled back and forth between California and Washington most of the time. Lived in um, Camp Pendleton. Lived in Camp Lejeune. So he was around back and forth. We moved around a lot. But I could remember, all of a lot of the stuff, well, a lot because I have videos, but a lot of stuff I can remember even then, of all the things that he did. And he would tell us these, certain stories he would tell us. And I kind of mentioned some of the things, a while back where when he needed to. Um, he knew how to act, he knew how to do what he needed to do to get something done. Like when we traveled back in the day, sometimes we rode up to a hotel, they wouldn't let him in. So we'd go around the street, he'll put his uniform on, come back, and they let him in. So it's just, learn those kind of things you got to learn to do back then. But
Definitely.
he started, in the military. He got out. From what my mom says, she always grew up in church, and apparently I guess he wasn't really a church going guy because his dad, or his family wasn't. They owned a farm down in Mississippi, uh, where they grew animals and stuff. I only had been down there a couple of times, but he got out of the military, joined the church, and I mean and when he joined the church, he never looked back. He was deacon. He made sure that any other kids, kind of like him and my mom together, made sure that, if there's any other kids in the neighborhood that need to get taken care of, they did. He drove the bus. He did everything in the church. He was deacon. He was trustee. He a very good person. And people are kind of again, he was one of those people in town. Everybody knew him. They knew McInnes or Big Roy, they called him. And if oh, you one of McInnes kids, that was one of the first things we get. Plus, there were so many of us going through the same school system, and then a couple other school systems around. But he was always making a big fuss. He was into making sure the city did stuff right. He was always at city council meetings. So pretty much everybody in town knew who he was. So you wasn't going around and didn't hear McInnes, because that name was around. So a really good guy. We all, I miss him. I know my mom loved him. She, 2 months after he left, she left. So he's a good guy. All around good dad. Took care of us, made sure we had what we needed.
So how did y'all wind up in Seattle?
So my dad was in the Marine Corps, stationed in at the base there, PSNS, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, because he was a gunning sergeant. So he was in the MPs. So he was like one of the head MPs. So MPs is the guys that stayed on the ship, the Navy cruisers.
Right.
So they would take care of the cruisers, and he was on that. What was the battleship that came back? And they actually did a movie there. Anyway, they wanted him to be on it, but he refused. But anyway, he left after he retired. We retired actually in California, so we were on the military base in California. He met my mom in Washington when he was stationed there. My grandpa owned a house there, so when he retired and came back, actually my sister was living there for a while, but when they retired and came back, he just retired in Bremerton in Washington. So that's how we ended up in Washington State. He retired there and settled down there.
Yeah, I have a former coworker that owns a bakery up in Bremerton, right across from the shipyard. So
In Bremerton?
yeah, it's
What's the name?
McGavin's Bakery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know the owner. I know the owner.
Yeah, they used to be down on Callow, but they
Yep.
moved some years back. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh
We've
yeah.
been knowing the McGowans for a long time.
Yeah.
Like I said, we knew everybody in town, especially businesses, and it was just like it was one of them towns.
Yeah, it is. It's a true Navy town. I must admit.
Right.
But that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And this is kind of why I want to do this because you know we have to improve our image, our ethnic image, and not all men are great, but not all men are bad. Miss Dream, talk about your dad.
All right. Well, perfect because I just got in the house. My dad, wow. I feel like I'm lucky because my dad is still here. So that's a good thing. My dad is definitely like hardworking. He's a typical Jamaican, unfortunately, quote unquote stereotype dad. He will be the one that'll have 50 million jobs. um, and loves working even now. And he is all of, oh gosh, I don't know, 77 years old. And he is about, that's why he loves this time of year. He's about his garden, his grass, planting, reaping. He likes to stay busy. He does not like to sit still. And it can make it interesting dealing with him, but he's always moving or thinking of what he wants to do next. He definitely has greatly impacted and influenced me, just making, like, that's why I'm the fix it and the do it all. Like, I want to like do all the things. He had daughters, so he definitely endeared us into like that strong woman having your own type of mentality. But um he's just I think he's an all-around guy. He's like a dad. He's definitely a nurturer. So I feel like my dad is kind of like a lot of people's dads that, takes care of everyone's children and not just his own.
Mute. You're on mute.
Well,
DF.
I'm having a stupidity crisis, but I was tired. Yeah, that's how our father was. Everybody we knew the father who the fathers were, and it was one of those. If they talked to you, you was like yes sir, no sir, and it was go ahead, Dabs.
I just want to add too is I think, as you talk about fathers and you talked about how we are as men and what I think some of it trickles down, some of it doesn't. Unfortunately, like you said, the being a good father, I think I've been pretty much an excellent father. I still, and I'm kind of, moving it down to to one of my son, I guess I should say, who was now a father and who was taking care of his son with autism. He's struggling hard, but he is there. The mom is not.
And that's what though, um, that people don't understand realize that happens a lot. A lot of mothers do get overwhelmed, and usually they do get help. However, it was kind of, if you ever watched the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
and he was on the spectrum, and his mother left him and his little brother, and the dad was all about, he was a military guy, so he was in the tough love, like you got to take care of yourself, and they both wound up being basically sociopaths and contract killers. So it was wild. It was wild. And
But the
but
difference in, thank God, and the difference in his son who's raising this child, he's putting his like 200% into his child, to the point where things are difficult for him, financially and the stability, but he's still holding strong with this child. To me, that is a God sent of a father to, sacrifice a lot of stuff just for his son, and the fact that the ability, his
okay.
special needs abilities. So it's kind of hard to stand back and watch this happen, things happen for him, and Dabs is so far away from his child and his grandkids and stuff like that. It's kind of hard, but the stories that Dabs told me of him raising three kids, two guys and a gal, by himself for many years is commendable. And well, y'all met him, except for DFG. You haven't met him yet, but um, personally, rather, you would see that I call him my boo bear because he's nothing but a big old teddy bear, and he's a lovable person, and he's a nurturer, and he's also uh, um, someone who stands strong for his family and his children and his friends. And he's a giant, but he's a gentle giant in a sense. But to sit back and watch his son have to go through what he's going through just to raise his son is commendable. It's commendable. You don't have a lot of those fathers nowadays like that. I am starting to see a little bit more of the fathers now, where you see the little memes where they're taking care of their kids, and they even learning how to braid hair or do hair for their children, and whether they have a significant other or not, they still are being a little bit more present in their children's lives. And we need that to happen now, especially now in today's society and with the things that's going on. You need that support, not just from afar, you need it up close. Now, whether you and your partner get along, if you have children, it's not about y'all anymore. It's about the children. And to be a supportive male role model in your child's life, whether it's a girl or a boy, it's, tremendous, especially today's society with, you know, a lot of these young people are just going for people who got money, or they'll stay with them even though they're getting abused. But if you have a good male role model in your life and a little bit more stability, you won't pick out the wrong guys or take what, people are doing or allow that to happen to you. You'll be a little bit more stronger, but because you'll be looking for someone like that role model that has raised you, which would be that man that stood strong and stayed in your life constantly.
And that's kind of how we were in um Dabs and I were both Gen X. I know y'all all Gen X, but talking about being a male and being Gen X was a little different. We got we had the baby boom and silent generation parents, and they were about that tough love. And then as a father, you know, I didn't understand a lot of things that he used to tell me. And the crazy part is that as I got older, I understood. And now that my adult children are getting going to their 30s, um, they're understanding some of the methods behind my madness. And that's a and it's a crazy thing. Um, it's a crazy thing to really look at what are we doing with how we're the things we get from our parents and the thing, especially our dads. What's Miss Summer, what's one thing you picked up from your dad that you carry to this day?
Oh, wow. One thing that my dad always says is his famous line is ain't no shoulda, woulda, couldas. And so at the end of the day, I should have did this, I could have did this, oh, I would have did this if I had more time. He said, ain't no shoulda, woulda, coulda. So um, always keep that in the back of your mind. If there's somebody that you miss, that you say, oh, I'll go see them next year, or I'll see them, at least call them, do something, make a move on something that you aspire to do, because before you know it, 2 years is gone by. And you're like, dang, I should have did that when I was thinking. So there it goes. Ain't no shoulda, woulda, couldas. So that's one thing that I carry that my dad always says to this day.
Okay, okay. How about you, Miss Dream?
Sorry. I think one thing that he often talks about is like, um, don't let the sun set, like, like waking up early and doing what you need to do. So he always like, and he even does it to the grandchildren, which they're like, ugh, they roll their eyes at him, and he talks about like getting up and getting moving and doing what you need to do, like while the time is still readily there and you're able to, instead of
Yeah,
kind of waiting.
that's understandable. Trust
Mhm.
me, because
Yes.
the day don't wait for nobody.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Kim?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What did you? I know you're tired. What did you learn from What did you learn from your dad?
Oh, how to handle business, the business sense of it all, taking care of business, taking care of the family. Don't just sit around and wait for somebody else to handle something that you know you should have already taken care of. Don't be a procrastinator.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, my father thought I was a procrastinator, and I probably was, but being in the military helped me out a lot, and I still suck at being places on time though. Miss Andrina from lovely South Carolina, how are you doing this today? I guess she's on mute, but all right, I'm gonna say to my three co-hosts, Chocolate Pearl, what was the things you took from your dad?
You know exactly what I took from my dad. My hustle mentality. My hustle mentality. I always got to find a way to make some money and make things work for me. Also, he was a caring, protective man, and I think I took those strengths from him as well, where I cared a lot for my friends and family. Because he cared a lot for his friends and family. But if you crossed any one of them, he was on you. He was on you.
Yeah, I
He
can
was
agree
on
with
you.
that. I can agree with that. How about you, Apple?
He always taught me that no matter where you go, what you're doing, to always carry ID. That's just something that always stuck with me. And
Yeah,
I taught my kids
his
that as
thing was
well.
make sure you got a dime for the call.
Mhm. And
Back
I do.
back when it was a dime, use the payphone. That tells you how old we are. Bean, what was one thing you picked up from your dad?
I believe it's to never to lie, because when you lie, you get tell the truth all the time. Because when you lie, you get the lie comes out, you get more in trouble for lying than you do for telling the truth. So that's where I get that from, like my brutal honesty. Sometimes it's just like not called for, but I'm like, at least I'm honest.
Yeah, 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 something like that.
Listen, I'm honest with my BS. I'm honest about my BS, and I'm honest about I'm honest and I'm
I
open.
I can agree with you on that. You get no argument out from me. What I learned from him was I couldn't quit nothing. I could not quit anything. And Pearl Apple and Bean can tell you I was like the sports kid. I did everything sports.
Mhm.
And his thing was he said, you ain't if I gotta pay for it, you ain't quitting it.
Maybe that's what I got from him too, because I refuse for my children to quit in the middle of something. You got to finish it out.
Yeah, that's what we got. That's what I got from him, and his love of sports, his love of sports, and I couldn't quit anything as much as I want. Oh gosh, a lot of things I wanted to just quit, but that was one thing that he instilled in me, that to be too, because he was stubborn, and I'm his son in that regard, because y'all know I'm stubborn as hell. But
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but you know, overall, it's helped me both positively and negatively. But we all take something from our fathers and what we learned, and things that we can do and be, and having having those ways to be able to help shape us. Because the thing, like with my oldest, he used to always say, "That's not fair." And I told him what my father told me: life ain't
Life's
fair.
not fair.
Deal
Life's
with
not
it.
fair.
Deal with it. And then it's funny when your children come to you, and I never got a chance to say to my father, but I'm sure I would have said it. I said, adulting is hard. When they came, when they come to you talking about adulting and hard and paying bills, I said, how did you make it look so easy? I said, because I didn't want to worry you about what we were going through. And I'm sure everybody on this panel could say the same thing.
I had that conversation with my daughter. And I know we're talking about guys, but fathers, but I had that type of conversation with my daughter, and she makes it she made me seem like I was this superwoman, but I had to pull her to the side and say, no, I'm not. So yeah, you're right. When your kids look at you and they think it's easy, so they want to do it. They want to become adults before time because we make it look easy to them, but that's not the case. You're
It's
right.
sure, it's showing, it's showing.
Dad hustled a lot. He done a lot of jobs under the table. He made a way out of no way completely, and for him to be able to take care of two families at one time, to me, was tremendous, and in his honor, because he made it work. He made it work for somehow some apparent reason. And I used to think, I say, "Oh, he's always working, but he still always made time for us."
And he couldn't keep money in his pocket.
No, he couldn't do that. No. Now with seven kids, no.
He could not keep anybody in his pocket. He used to jump on me talking about, I said, Daddy, I want to go play a video game. What you playing a video game for? You got any money? Lecture me for 30 minutes about a dang on quarter. But then again, when I became a parent, I did the same thing, so I can't say too much.
Exactly. But
He also taught us that put our family first, home come first. That's
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that
yeah,
he taught us.
definitely. Definitely. I think a lot of people on this panel probably feel the same way, that your father and your parents teach you to put family first, because the answers that or the responses that the people said, that's how I see it, is that your dad taught you family, your dad taught you strength, your dad taught you hard work, determination, stick with what you're doing, don't quit, don't be a quitter. And yeah, so I got that as a little short little synopsis of what everybody said, and that makes me feel good, because you still you knew you had somebody there. Because today, a lot of no, I shouldn't say today, because I do see a lot of fathers trying to force themselves into their children, continue to force themselves in their children's lives, even if they have any blocks in their way, they still try to be there for their kids. I see that today. But when my kids was growing up, a lot of their fathers weren't around, and they wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. So I'm glad to see it coming back around with this newest generation. I'm always
Yeah,
putting this newer generation down because of the things I see, and they feel that we owe them something. But I do see with the fathers that they're trying to stay consistent in their children's lives, even with the blocks and the walls in their way.
so okay, I'm gonna ask, since all my three co-hosts are I'm the only one in here that I'm not a granddad, but their children are their male children have children. Leave it at that. What do you think they got they got from their father figures, or their actual fathers? I'll start with you. I'll start with you, Bean.
Well, I could say my oldest son surprised me because he told me he never wanted any children, like I said, and he surprised me to being a helicopter parent. Never thought that would be possible from out of my child that likes to be in the street. But he took care of his child, and I believe he got that from his father because his father and me had custody at different times of his life. I had him for the first 9 years, and his father had him for the, you know, until he was 18, from 9 years old to 18. So he had both of his parents, and on top of that, he has his stepmother who was in the house with his father. So he had the best of both worlds of having a two-parent household and having individual um time with me and his brother from me. My youngest son, he's doing well so far with his daughter. He has her a lot. Um he is an involved father, and he has a very strong which I thank God for. He has a strong support system in his child's mother's family. Also, they're willing to let him mess up and explain to him how he's messing up so he could fix it. And I like that about them. They're not just like, oh, break up with him and take the kid away. No, he's making mistakes because he's a young father. And they explain what the mistakes are, and he's learning from that. I'm seeing that myself. So they learn. I don't know. My youngest son, he learned that from watching his uncles and his male cousins. Um, Not so much his father, but the males that were around his father take care of their children very well. And so he's seen that it's possible that some he sees now, especially that he's over 20 and that he's 21, and he's like, oh, it's possible. Even if you don't have much, you could spend time with your children and show them that love. that that's the wealth of, you know, of being a parent. You don't always have to have the money, but as long as you're there for them, you don't, you know, as long as you're there for them and showing them that you are there for them and you're willing to be down and out with them so they could, you know, be better. And that's what I believe my son is learning and have learned.
That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Apple, what about you? What about your son?
Oh, he's about to be a father again, and he's very happy about that. He's an excellent father, in my opinion. I mean, he can. It's some areas that he can improve on, but you know, parenthood is a learning process anyway. No one's a perfect father. You do the best you can with what you have, but he takes care of his daughter. He knows how to do her hair. She has a chronic illness, and he's at every doctor's appointment. And she, you know, unfortunately, she was in the hospital for a couple of days last week. And, you know, him and his ex-wife, they take turns spending nights in the hospital with her. And he's just always there for her. Sometimes he can't be there physically because he does work doubles like multiple times a week. Um, but when he can't be there physically, he's there, of course, financially, and he talks to her every day on the phone. And he's just a really good dad, and I think he got that from watching his uncles and seeing how well y'all did with y'all children and how well y'all did with y'all nephews. And I'm very proud of him in with that. And yeah, I think it's hard when you yourself don't grow up with a dad and you try to do things differently. And I think that's what he's doing. Even though he knows his dad, obviously, and he spent time with his dad wasn't the best example of what a dad should be. So I think he picked good aspects from each of his uncles because all my brothers, if I do say so myself, are very good dads. Every last one of you. And I think he saw that and he tried to emulate, you know, what he saw you guys doing, and he tries to do better than what his dad did with him.
That's awesome. Chocolate Pearl?
Well, I have one that has many children and from many wives. Yes, I said wives. But oh, all in all, I believe he is a good father when he's able to uh, see his children. Um, he's the when he had his very first one, he was in his life, but he had a lot of blocks and stumbling blocks in his way, and so he did the best that he could. Then, he had an additional child. He was in that person's life until that person took him away and don't know where he's at. And so he went through a lot. But when he has his children, from what I can see and what I have witnessed, he's a great father. He's a strong father. He's a protective father. He's a big time disciplined father, especially with his boys. But now that he has girls, he's a little what's the softy. He's a little softy with his girls. Um, but he's there for them, and I'm glad he's able to stay in their lives and stuff like that and raise them. But he does the best he can. He works a lot. Um, but he tries his hardest to be there in their lives. Even if he got to take those kids to work, he takes them to work. If he has to, keep them and don't have anybody else to keep them, he will sacrifice a lot just to make sure his children are safe and well taken care of. So yeah, he's a good father. I believe he's a good father. For what I've witnessed and what I've seen, he's a great father.
That's good. That's good. And the reason I say that because I don't have any grandchildren yet, or probably won't have them, but that's okay though. Um, Dabs, do you have any grandchildren?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I
So
was talking about. My son.
oh,
My
you just said
son,
your son had
yeah,
the autistic.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's doing
So
with the yeah. So he's got two boys. But yeah, he makes sure he takes care of both his boys. And it's kind of what I was saying, the trickle down. Hopefully the stuff that I taught him seems to be, rolled over, from the stuff my dad taught me, from the stuff I taught him. And I mean, he is a strong, strong father. So he is doing, the necessary things to make it happen, you know. So and I'm proud of him for that one.
that's good. That's good. Miss Summer, do you have any grandkids?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know. Ooh, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna go.
Yeah, my son, yeah, no, not that I know of. I'm gonna just keep it like that.
Are you waiting? Are you ready to be a grandparent?
No, sir. No, sir. Right now, we just gonna take our time. And if it happens, praise God. But we got to take care of ourselves first before we can, let alone even think about bringing any type of a baby into this world. So,
Yes, that would
That's
that
normally
would
the
be
rule, but hey, things happen. Not trying to
mhm,
put that on you, but things happen.
I know it. I
in,
know it. My
in life.
son's baby right now is Mary Jane. So when he divorced Mary Jane, then maybe he'll think about settling down. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah,
My son, after having all his kids, decided to discover Mary Jane.
yeah. Well, he kind of couldn't when he was in the military. So I'll leave it at that. But it's this is I'm loving this. I'm loving this as we go into Father's Day, and we talked about our fathers. We talked about our children's being fathers, or if they are being, if you have male children, and we just talked about how things that we got from our fathers and things that as men, I know dads can, we try to pass down what we think works. One of the things that my father never said to me, but I feel that he would have said this. He just said, "When you have children, I hope they grow up to be like you." That wasn't meant as a
Yes.
compliment.
Yeah, I got
Yes.
that.
No,
I got
I
that
her.
got
from a
that.
couple of people. I got that from a couple of people. Like, oh, and my kids, that was like, I don't know, prophetic, or they were seeing in the
I was lucky
in the
then.
future, because my younger son and me are exactly how me and my mother were. We loved each other, but we can't be in the same room for too long. And that's why I believe God gave me kids that their birthday center around my mother. It was like, oh, we're gonna get you for all the heck that you gave your mother. So yeah.
Yeah, she's. Oh, your mother did say that to me though, and I have three clones of Barry. I have three clones. They are different, but they're the same. They all my kids. I could
I
deny
was
me even if DNA test came out wrong, which it won't because all of them look like me. So I can't dodge that. Uh,
I
You know
was
what?
lucky then because my kids was nothing like I was. I was bad joker.
I wasn't bad. In fact, I would for the projects. I was like a nerd in the projects because I didn't do a lot of the project
I didn't
stuff.
do a lot of stuff either, but
Yeah, I didn't do the project stuff most of it. Now I did some of it. I done I done took a couple of left-handers and I
uh,
drank I drank a 40 or two in my day.
oh yeah. I
But
was I was gonna I was gonna die at 4, I was gonna die at 5, I was gonna die at 7, I was gonna die at 8. Boy, I'm gonna kill you. I don't know how many times I heard
yeah,
that.
yeah, one time my mother beat me so bad
And that was
I
my dad.
died and she resuscitated me. Nah, I'm joking.
Oh jeez.
No, I'm so sorry that if we got the stories of badness, I called myself thinking that I was skipping school and went straight back to the neighborhood, and my mother sitting in the hallway looking out the window like, come, if you come to this house. Yeah. And then I ran, she caught me, and I thought I could run and climb the monkey bars because she was short. She snatched my little tail through the monkey bars and commenced to, yeah, yeah. So my mother, yeah, my
Well, let me
mother.
tell an embarrassing story of DFG for those who would love to know. My DFG, every time he got in trouble, he would run. And one time, my dad said, "You ain't gonna run this time." So when he decided he was gonna run, my dad had a rope and lassoed that foot that went up. And
Yeah, I
lassoed
do.
him
Remember that?
through the.
It was in the back bedroom. I think I
It was in
Yeah.
our bed. It was he hung me over our bedroom door because remember it
He
had the
hung
little
you over
window
the
thing.
bedroom door and hung you upside down
I
by one
think I
leg
remember
and whipped
that.
the daylights out of you. You ain't
Yeah.
run no
Oh,
more.
oh, trust me. I would have never did that to my kid, but that was. Oh no, I remember that. I remember because yeah. Oh yeah, that was not fun. But if I'm honest about it, it was my fault. I if he
What did you
he
do
did
wrong?
yeah, that was one thing, and we came to the close to the end of the show, but that's one thing that I can truly say that he didn't punish us if we didn't deserve, because he felt like it.
That's right.
So that was one of those things that I could say, if something happened to me, if he put it on me, I deserve it's something I did because I didn't do a lot, but I did do stuff. But I still, but the thing is though, is I'm glad that he was in my life. I'm
Hmm.
glad that, he showed me how to be a father and and he was a flawed man. Like I said, he was a flawed man, but overall, his family, his siblings, his friends, everybody loved him, and that's not me being biased. That's
The truth.
That's the truth. Because his brothers, you talk to his brother, you talk to his sisters. He'd give he'd have $3 if they needed two. He'd give them two. We might be eating gum and cheese that week, but that's how he was. That's how he was. But we come to the end of the show, and I think I accomplished what I wanted to set out. Just having good talking about fathers and how how they important how they're important to the family structure, and everybody had good memories about their dads, and that's a good thing. So before I go, I'm gonna go backwards. I'm gonna start off with Bean and Apple, then Chocolate Pearl. Go on, Bean.
Okay, you know how I feel. Thank y'all for coming. Subscribe, like, and share. Thank y'all for the stories of y'all dad. I appreciate it greatly, especially because my son is going through his own journey of fatherhood. And yeah, I wish all the fathers happy Father's Day and many more. And enjoy your day. You deserve it.
All right,
I'll
all right.
see y'all later.
Good night, everybody. As usual, it was a great show. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Now,
Pearl.
normally, I don't like Father's Day, and my family knows why. But because I have a wonderful fiance who is a great father, and I celebrate him in every way possible, and I'm going to actually say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, good or bad, dead or alive. Because this might be the only year that y'all get it because it's going to probably fall back on my birthday again. That's why I don't like Father's Day because it always falls on my birthday.
Oh,
Uh,
it
and I
seems
get
that way.
ignored.
But you got a national holiday on your birthday now, so stop
Yeah,
whining.
and now I don't like that day either.
I like it because I ain't got to go to work.
I did have a job that I actually had
I
that day
do.
off, and it was the first time that ever happened. So, but anyway, happy Father's Day. No, on a serious tip, happy Father's Day. I've always celebrated Father's Day, whether it was on my birthday or not. I always celebrate it because I think that the men get a bad rap. And I know a lot of great fathers, and I'm about to marry one, and my brothers are three. So, and my son is a four. So there we go.
Can't wait to get that time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But that's one of those things. I'm glad
Oh,
that
and Old Spice.
yeah, socks and ties and Old Spice. And if you're lucky, you might only have to cook three steaks instead of doing an entire barbecue. But I want to thank everybody out there in YouTube land and Facebook land and Instagram land and TikTok land for joining us every week. Every week we do this at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. All my go to my link tree for all my vitals. It's in the description. And I want to say thank you for my people that come on regularly, Miss Kim, Miss Andrine, Miss Nikki over there on YouTube, Miss Summer. All of y'all come on and y'all make the show better. And if you can't laugh at yourself, find somebody else to laugh at. This is DFG. On the behalf of myself, DFG, Chocolate Pearl, Apple, and Bean, we want to thank you for watching our show. Please come back, like, share, and subscribe.